startup community, or we have a lot of jobless people. So either way, it's great. Great to be here. All right, this is not a typical presentation. I'm pitching my dev shop that I started recently. It's not an idea, an app idea, a product idea. So let me introduce myself. I'm Abhishek. I'm a recent BYU MBA grad, and I am originally from Hyderabad, India, and I'm also a computer science undergrad. So that's the reason behind starting this. So let me start off. Why did I start this? So last year about this time, I started building it out myself. Got into it and realized that I can't do it myself, the whole thing. So I wanted to find a developer and started looking around in Provo, and I found someone, a lot of people, but the best one for the cheapest price was $70 an hour, and there's no way I could afford it. So I realized that I have a lot of connections back home in India, and I could leverage those connections and outsource the whole process to them. And I found someone of equal competence for $15. And there were a lot of, I went through development processes with them. There was a lot of learning that happened, a lot of pitfalls that we fell, and we realized that at the end of the day, we had the product built, and we realized that this could be something that everybody here could leverage, the startup community in Provo and youth that could leverage. So that's the reason why I started this company. It's called Value Software Solutions. So I said I went through some pitfalls. There are 3 of them. So the first thing is communication. Sometimes developers in other countries, they're not really so fluent in English. So that could be a big communication. And also, second thing is the time difference. That 2.5 hour difference. You have meetings early morning or late in the night. That could be a huge communication issue, and that could lead to quality issues. We have also, as startups, our requirements change probably every week, probably every month, and that is something we all are familiar with, and that's something developers don't like, and especially outsourcing it, that's a problem. And contractor model has it, because we're not directly in touch with them, they're not working right in front of us. Moral hazard could be an issue if they find something better to do, if they find a better project, they will try and abandon you. So this is something we thought through, and we came up with like a process that will solve all of this. Starting with, we're gonna have 2 managers. First thing, 1 manager here, 1 manager back home. Just managers, yeah. That's something I learned here. Those are school and stuff too. Yeah. Anyway. So yeah, this will solve the communication problem. Make sure both are fluent and make sure both will be available to communicate all the specs all the time. Then we use the agile methodology, obviously, as startups. What we plan to do is have a 21-day cycle where we build something in 21 days, where we finalize the minimum requirements that is ready right now, and we build it out so that we don't waste a lot of development time and resources building out unwanted features. And that's how the majority of the unwanted waste happens in software development. So 21 days, we build it out, test it out the next 5 days, and then the whole cycle repeats. Then we have exclusivity. So we have been speaking to a lot of other companies and to get access to good developers. And what we finalized with them is that we're going to have exclusive access to developers, every 21 days, and they will be committing to a project to a client, and that will basically solve the moral hazard problem. So what we do is simple. We do all kinds of stuff: development, web, mobile, any technology you like, support, maintenance, SEO, and AdWords. It's not an exclusive list. We can do a lot more. Obviously, if you are interested, please come talk to me. And yeah. The main reason I'm here is feedback. So what's the best way to reach out to startups here? I would like to know that, and what technologies are like in demand. Yeah, would love to know your feedback on that. And my contact here, you can contact me anytime. That's my partner, Carter Smith. He also graduated from the BYU program. All right. Thank you for listening, guys. Yeah, you will have a manager, and based on the project, you'll have development resources that are going to be assigned to you. It's either going to be 21 days, 8 hours a day, or depending on the project, depending on what your requirements are. They're going to work on your project alone, nothing else.
But what happens when I ran into this? I don't know anything about software, so I learned the hard way. I hired someone to develop something for me, and then they went away. They were there for the project, it was completed, but then later on I had issues. And then I have to retrain or find someone else that can try and figure out what this guy did. How do you handle situations like that where it seems like the software is continually changing. I just got an email from Firebase and they said, we noticed you need to do this. So I don't know what the hell we're talking about. Then I would have to, I guess that learning curve, I don't want to have to go through a learning curve every time I get an email from a Firebase or a Google or somebody who is involved in that. How do you handle that so you don't have to repay twice?
Well, the best way to handle that, a lot of people face, but the best way to handle that is have someone on your side that understands all that, obviously. But again, that's the best solution. But again, if finding a shop that you trust and you would finding someone who delivers constantly and who you can trust is more important. And that's the only thing, I guess. We can enter into contracts, but again, it's a question of enforceability. And having someone with a track record and someone you can trust is more important than that, I would say.
So just on his question, so what it sounds like is you were working one-on-one with the guy and the guy left, you couldn't access it. But with you guys, you have a full shop, right? So even if some of your employees that left that were working specifically on his project, that wouldn't be an issue for you because you can just have someone that on your whole team that can just step in and easily handle maintenance projects down the road or something, right?
Yeah, also. Thank you.
What are your rates?
So it depends on the technology and how long you want the project. We can get you, for example, an iOS developer for $15 an hour. That's a benchmark, I would say.
Do you have like a pretty wide range of languages and things that you're putting in, or do you have is this focusing on iOS?
No, we have a wide range of languages. So what we do is we get developers from they're still contractors. They'll be contracting with us instead of you. So we'll get developers from different companies in India, and we will be the interface, and we'll make sure all of the communication and transactions are smooth between you and the different companies. So that way we can get access to multiple technologies, different variety of technologies. So it's good.
Last question. What can we do as a 1 million cup community for you?
Well, spread the word around. Help me build your projects. That's the best thing you could do. And go visit my website, valuesoftwaresolutions.com. And that's what you can do. Thank you.
Awesome, thanks so much. We've got a quick announcement as our next presenter is getting plugged in here. There's a Utah County Refugee Info Night that is tonight. The address is 450 North, 1220 West, here in Provo. The doors open at 6:30 p.m. and Mayor Curtis is going to be speaking at 7 p.m. So there's another one of these posted back here on our little board with, and this one I'll just keep up here. So if you're interested and want to see more details about that, come check it out. It'll just be right up here. Okay, well, let's keep it rolling with our next presentation here. Let's welcome Raize.
Hey guys, how you doing? My name is Mark. I'm with Raize. We also have Kavya, who's on our team up here. And we'll talk a little bit more about our team later on. Before I get started, how many out there are college graduates? How long did it take you guys to graduate? Was it more than 4 years, more than 5 years, and not a doctor? That aren't doctors out there. 5.5 years. Why did it take you so long to graduate? Oh, okay, great. We actually got some grant money and did a lot of research to understand this kind of process. And one of our focus groups, this was a sophomore that said, I declared business as my major, but I hated every single business class that I took. So he's 2 years in and has taken all these business classes and he hates them. We talked to a freshman who actually said, I was forced to make a decision without knowing everything that I wanted to know. So this data information flow of understanding what major to go into, what college to go to, what job to take, it's kind of changed and morphed over the years. We want to know more. There's more information out there. There's more things in order to decide what we want to do with the rest of our future. We actually talked to 78 different students, and we found 3 different things that cause people to know where they need to go, their future direction. It's an internship, it's talking with somebody, and it's taking a class, okay? Those things can be found out in advance. You don't have to go through that whole process of going through those internships. There's plenty of stuff out there. So this is what we actually see today as a competitive landscape of this data information flow to help us find the future. You guys are all very familiar with the college courses up there, the career assessments that tell you should be a pilot or a farmer, right? What we see, this convenience and relevance, this is what people value. Utah Futures is also another thing. People don't really know about it, but they have tons of resources. It's really free, but super inconvenient. We think there's a huge space to play in here that kind of look at this information flow. What information do we want? How do we want it? That kind of thing. And so that's why we think up here, there's a space where we can be free, a lot more convenient, and a lot more personally relevant. So here's our solution. We have this free and convenient app with a crowdsourced aspects to it. So instead of just having a self-assessment type, this is who I am. We all know if you study any psychology out there, if there's any psychology, people, 360 assessments are always more accurate than self-assessments. But yet we rely on these self-assessments to actually go forward. We've integrated that. We've integrated the crowdsourcing and self-assessment along with personally relevant. Generally, you're compared to everybody out there, right? We've broken that down. As we started out, we want to compare you to people that are like you here at BYU or UVU or University of Utah, or if you're at U of A in Arizona or ASU. We've broken that out. And then also it's current comprehensive. You look at these different criteria of the strong interest inventory or the type focus or the Myers-Briggs, and they're not super comprehensive. We've taken that into consideration. Based off of our kind of primary research, taking some of the psychology we've learned from Holland back in the 1970s, and then also some of the widely accepted Big Five in psychology. So this is our step to do it. Educate people about themselves. Let them understand what really drives them, what their values are, what their interests are, what their tendencies are in that regard. Compare them to what their options are out there. I'm not going to tell you this is the right thing for you. I'm going to say if you go to this direction, your values, your interests are going to line up, but maybe your personality would be better fit over here type thing. And then in the end, we're going to predict. As we use this machine learning, we have a lot of evidence that suggests what type of class, decipher whether or not you should do this or this type thing. So just quick about our user acquisition. This is our strategy. We've got another BYU MBA grad who is focused on doing this marketing aspect. And we figured out how we can acquire users. But in addition, we've gotten verbal commitments from BYU and UVU about their credentialed recommendation to use us as we're working with them to better understand. Right now, it actually takes a BYU student 11 semesters to graduate, a year and a half longer than necessary. And that average cost, and that's no different across the nation, right? We're spending a year and a half longer than we need to graduate, and it's just taking too long. The average student changes majors 1.8 times, almost 3 majors. So there's a myriad of reasons why that happens, family reasons, medical, but by far and large, the largest thing is you just don't know which major to go into. So this is our strategy. We have a website up there right now. The survey is connected, but it's not finalized. That website development will be finalized at the beginning of next month. And we've kind of see this as our rollout strategy beginning of January, June next year as we roll out to these other universities, focusing right now on BYU. And questions are going to be, what's the revenue model if you're a business? We see this as a bigger scope, right? This is not just helping people choose majors. We think there's and have evidence suggest that we can help people decide which college to go to. Just because mom and dad went to UVU or BYU doesn't mean that's the right fit for you. You need to understand that. And as we go forward and integrate vertically with companies and with colleges, there's a huge possibility of lead gen there. And right now, the average university is paying anywhere from 10 to 150 per person. What we've talked to different universities, if we can suggest one person, their conversion rate is so much better right now. Their conversion rate is about 9%. So they pay $100 and get one of those people, or 10 times the amount, get one of those people to actually come to their college. We think we can do that actually in 1 to 2, and we can charge about $50. Then companies, I mean, obviously there's a huge prospect there. So in the end, I think this is the most powerful part of what we have going here. This is our team, and think we have something really good going forward to help people make decisions better. So we believe that you need to focus on a future that fits. Thank you.
There's a fair amount of costs there. You have to build, develop it, and then you talk about all the acquisition strategy, and you have paid acquisition strategy and such. How are you going to fund that? And how much do you need?
Yeah, so right, I mean, I could put up our financials too there a little bit later on. We have kind of bootstrapped it with a little bit of right now. We see our next need for about $50,000 in about January, February of next year. At that time, we're gonna make a decision between going into all these competitions that BYU has to offer, or just going straight into getting capital from a venture fund. So we haven't decided that. I think that will come as we understand our growth.
If I'm a student taking this, and you only have BYU or UVU listed as according to the system, it seems like if I take it, you're only going to recommend BYU or UVU. So are you looking to get more universities and their criteria what they have to offer?
Totally. So it's all relevant. If I'm a BYU student right now, I want to know what majors are offered to me right now. If I'm a 17-year-old wanting to apply to University of Utah, Utah State, Weber State, and integrate my choice of majors, then that's when we go holistic, right? But there's no point, if I'm here at BYU, I need to compare against BYU people, understanding what's going forward.
But if you take the assessment and you realize you have strengths in a certain area, and BYU isn't strong in that area, I would want to know what universities are strong in that area, so I mean, switch universities.
Okay, yeah, I see that question. Totally, and that's a feature that will come in later, right? We've projected that and see kind of, okay, if they want to transfer. Part of what this is supposed to do though, is we want to get there before that happens. I want to get you in the right university before you have to make that. It's surprising actually, BYU won't actually release, and UVU, what their transfer rates are, but colleges lose actually a lot of money having to ship kids out because they don't find what they want. I don't want any of that. I want to do that in advance. Let's find you the right college first and then get into that. But I see is right now, we want to build some feature that says, okay, I want to be compared against just BYU or everybody. Right now though, that's the approach, is we compare against everybody. We don't compare it just your university.
It seems like your revenue streams come either before they choose college or right at the end when they're going to choose a company to work at. But it seems like your acquisition strategy focuses on people who are already out of school, but maybe in the first couple of years of being there. So are you going to have to acquire users and wait 2 or 3 years until they're ready to graduate to extract value out of the company side?
So we see this as a journey. I want to get a user and have them go through a 4 to 5 year process. You're referring to people maybe that have been in a job a year or two, and maybe they haven't found the right fit, or they want to go to a different company?
So you said you get money from companies?
Yep.
From universities?
Correct.
So if a student is already at BYU, BYU is not going to pay you.
Sure.
And a company doesn't want to pay you and wait 3 years while that person goes through computer science in order to go there. So you're kind of at the book, your revenue is at the bookends of the college experience, but it seems like you're focused on acquiring users who are maybe 1 or 2 years into college experience. So how are you going to bridge that gap?
Yeah, that's part of the difficulty of building a startup, right? is that I don't have that revenue stream right now. I'm not necessarily worried about it. Peter Thiel, the PayPal guy, talks about going uncomfortably narrow. Our original idea was that whole process. You can't tackle that whole thing. Problem that we have today, and because we're so close to BYU, UVU, was to tackle the major. We made a choice as we went in and understood that. And we think that's okay. We think it might not get revenue right away, but that'll come. I know that's difficult in between point, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I was a college professor. And one thing I found is, I don't know how you're going to overcome this, but this is a big problem. But they're 18. You know, people are very different from 18 to 20. And people make decisions. I mean, like, they had a cool biology teacher in high school, so they major in molecular chemistry. That, like, they don't really know who they are. They don't really have a good perspective on the world. I mean, I was always pointing people to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, like, just so they knew, like, the basic breakdown of people got jobs. But again, it's just people are, you probably can think back in your own life, like, what you were when you were 18, and then where you were when you were 22. That's maybe, in my opinion, that's a lot of the efficiency.
It's a great question. We kind of disagree with you on that, because psychology tends to suggest your personality is not going to change much over a 25-year period, right? We have a phased approach about how to ask those different questions as people do evolve.
So 18-year-olds are the same as 25-year-olds?
No. Let me finish. Values, interests, your kind of decision-making criteria, and your personality. So different things are going to change. We have, as you go across this journey, new questions as we understand as you're evolving, right? Your personality, if it doesn't change over a 25-year period, and I find that at the very beginning, I don't really need to ask you very many questions as you progress forward, right? Your values, what you're suggesting, they do. And we have an approach as we continue to evolve with them. So this journey, as they get in, we will re-ask those different questions. So we don't think that's necessarily a problem, though. We want to, the millennial generation, they want to know more than the decisions about taking which major and which job was before. We think as we kind of evolve with them, that will easily like progress with them in this kind of journey that we're kind of going on. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah. Find out when you start.
Okay.
I see this as being really helpful in for the Asian students. We have 3 in our home that are right now applying to colleges. But I see these kids coming in. These are high school kids and moving through our high school system. And there's at least, at least 40 of them here in the valley. And they're wanting to come in and focus. Their parents want to be there. They're quite wealthy. They'll do anything to get their kid in the right school at the right place for them, what they want to do. And this sort of thing is really helpful. I see them really struggling trying to find this kind of information out. One we just did, he ended up applying to Miami of Ohio. He hates cold weather, right? So he thinks he's going to Miami of Ohio. He didn't want to apply to BYU because he thought it was a small school. He didn't realize that one he's going to is like a small college compared to BYU, which is the largest private university. So it's just the information they need to know and kind of what's available there and how they can move forward. So it's a great market for you, I think.
Yeah, I appreciate that. One quick question, and then we'll kind of finish up because I know we got more time. But how much of an influence do their parents play on that decision?
They actually leave a lot up to the child is kind of where they want to go, but they put the influence in money. They provide the money. And we had one ended up going to UVU, and just because he wants to get into a healthcare field. Another one wants to get into business, but so he ends up going to Miami.
Yeah.
At least now he's thinking about going there for 2 years and transferring back. But the point is that they are really right with this. They want to put their kids in queue. They want to move them forward from the beginning.
Interesting. It's a great market that we'll have to consider and look more into.
I noticed when the show was talking about and bringing up questions that he was a college professor. One thing be careful, and I've seen this, we've been here for a couple of years almost now, and people disregard the opinion and the knowledge that people have out there. Be very careful of that, because he has expertise that you don't.
Sure.
And when I heard you dismiss his opinion, you said, well, this science, be very careful of that, because when you're starting a business, you don't know what you don't know. You need to make sure that you listen to your mentors, your advisors, people like you that are giving you advice that is invaluable. So wherever you go, make sure that you listen to what the advice is, because you'll regret it later if you don't.
Yeah, last question. What can we as 1 Million Cups community do for you?
Sure, I probably would just say these two things. If you know anybody that's struggling to make those decisions, go to our website. We have these 2 domains. And if you want to help work with our universities, there's a survey up there for graduated people, and you think that you're help us in our data collection to kind of move forward for the next generation, that would be really helpful.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna invite VeraSage up. Guy's gonna come up and talk to us a little bit about VeraSage, our wonderful breakfast sponsor for the month. And while Guy's getting plugged in, I'm just gonna have Bryce stand up. Wave to the crowd. Bryce is our newest 1 Million Cups organizer, and he's the guy that does all the scheduling. To get on the schedule, he's the guy to talk to. So come find him after, and he's awesome. Thanks. Okay. Oh, let's just scoot it back a little. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and pass the mic to Guy.
All right, thank you. So I thought it kind of interesting that I guess I get the sponsor slide here, and we're also a custom dev shop or a custom software shop. So we don't outsource, so you'll get a little bit of a different flavor from us. We have all of our people are in-house and work here. So who is VeraSage? We value solving problems over billing hours. We communicate early and with clarity. All the kinds of things I like to hear from your development partner, your technical partner. The thing that we like to do that's a little bit different than other people, let's see if this works, is we like to make sure that our projects have a 10x value proposition over our fees. Our experience is that custom software really only makes sense as an investment. And if you can't look at it like an investment, if our clients can't see that that's an investment that they expect a return on, if they're just looking at it as an expense or a cost, it really doesn't make sense for us to be involved. And we love to be involved where we can make difference there. So the way we do that is we get the client's heads and make sure that we understand their business and what they expect out of the software. And that has all sorts of good goodness when you're dealing with complex custom software development. If you can't communicate the value that you expect out of that investment, then the developer has a really hard time building it and building it to achieve that value. You end up having to go back and rework things. But if you can articulate that value and you can communicate it, then those million different decisions that a developer makes as they're building your software, they get to make them the way you would make them. So here are some examples. We do web and mobile applications. Jill's office was one we recently finished. This was a complex web backend where they went out and did doing voice calls out to contractors and texts and emails and managing queues, and then the contractors would have be able to receive calls through the system, be able to make calls to the system and track, even do estimates and invoices. It's kind of a full CRM for small, like plumbers and tradesmen. Here's a complex web application for ordering PCBs online, printed circuit boards if you're into electrical stuff. Flash tabs, I guess I'm just kind of showing you guys some examples of the type of stuff we do and how we can do it. Menu ordering lets you, if you have 5 people at a table, you can open tabs, make orders, and then make payments through the app, and it goes right back into the restaurant's point of sale system. Very complex, very hands-on. We need to really be intimately aware of what's going on with their business. This one is a fun one. Alpha Dimensia has been a client for several years, and we built the little controller you see. This is their flagship machine. It's a coffee machine. It costs about $15,000, and they have 4 crucibles that they brew these very, very specific cups of coffee, blend and everything. So I don't drink coffee, but it was really fun to build. And we built the little device that sits in here, communicates with the machine, controls it all. Bilmo, we built their check-in. If you ever go to check-in with somebody at Bilmo, they have a little, you can see a little iPad and a kiosk out there that you can check in and print your tags and stuff. So we built that for them because it shows you your image and then it takes your picture and everything. So anyway, so that's VeraSage. That's what we do. We try to make sure that, like I said, we're always a 10x value. And that's kind of variable. It depends on business. You can clearly see the value. We could go down to a 2x even, and as long as you factor in that risk of you receiving that value. For most startups, we look at least a 10x, or like several of those here, Jill's Office and Flash Tabs and Alpha Dimensia software. They don't have anything really, so they've built the whole business around that software, and we love that mission critical aspect. We love to be in there partnering with the businesses, with our clients at that level. So anyway, thank you for letting me inject a little bit of time here. And if you have any questions, I think I have some time, vendors. Okay.
So, maybe like the concept, from your tolerance, but how do you really evaluate what that is? How do you know that you're offering 10 times the value of what you're?
Yeah, that's a great question, because it requires some business skill to really get in and understand that. An example for most startups, it's like a no-brainer. Like they don't have a business without the tech there. So it's hard to put a number on that. If they're projecting $1 million in 5 years and our fees are 100,000, then that's a 10x, right? But you have to, if you're working with an established business, you have to establish a lifespan of the project. Usually, 10 years seems a little long for software. It's just kind of, but the different businesses can have different lifespans of software too, and they could do that. One example of, we did a project for ADP where we helped them automate a massive spreadsheet. So it reduced their cost, but the big benefit for that, now each salesperson could go out and use that application in their sales, and their sales went up $20 million the first year. So their fees weren't anywhere near that. That was like 100x. So that type of stuff, we try to pick a metric or two up front and help work out a framework where we can say, we expect this to be 5 years. Maybe, our fees we estimate to be $200,000. So we want to look at a $2 million project. This is one that I just did with a client this week, in fact. We want to look at, having a return on this investment of $2 million for your company over 5 years. And we started looking at it, and yeah, that was a fairly easy number to achieve over the 5 years. So we just kind of sit down and talk. Some business people don't have that desire or acumen, so we end up having to ballpark things a little bit. The other ones are like, oh yeah, I know exactly what, and we can work it out. Yeah. Any other questions? Hey, thanks for letting us support 1 Million Cups. I appreciate it, and have a great day.
And thank you guys. You're doing great breakfasts. Okay, well guys, we're doing pretty good on time. We're here on our 4th presentation, and we've got over 10 minutes left. One quick announcement is there is the book sorting service project this evening, actually, and who's in charge of that? You want to raise your hand? Yeah, that's tonight. Where is it at? The long walk all the way up to the front.
Okay, the bookstore tonight is from 4 to 6. It's with Mountain Land Head Start, and it's at 1002 South and 1100 West in Provo. And I can pass this little paper around. It's our sign-up sheet if you'd like to get involved. And I know that United Way has their refugee night tonight as well, and we're with Mountain Land Start, so we're separate nonprofits. But if you want a day full of service and you've got some time tonight, come help out with everything. We'd love to have you. It'd be great.
Awesome, thank you. Lots of good activities this evening. Okay, well, let's get started, and I'll pass the mic over to Wispr.
This is Wispr. I'm just going to take you real quick through the who, what, where, when, why of what Wispr is. Really just explain the project, more just kind of explain it versus sell you on it. It's kind of weird sometimes. So Wispr is, we're a content creator and a content broker for useful and or fun and interesting information. I say content creator because we create original content, and all this content served in an audio format. And I say content broker because we sell to other individuals, our customers, space on our channel where they can create and post their own original content. And again, it's all in the audio format, and I'll kind of get more into what I mean by content. So why we do this, why we exist, is we found that there's kind of there's an issue with information consumption and getting the right information at the right time in the right quantity. People are either too busy to get the information that they want. I mean, I talked to a VP out in Silicon Valley. He goes, "I'm way too busy. I don't even have time to keep up on the news and what's going on. Just 12-hour workdays every day." Or people are getting hit with way too much information and they want it limited, or they want one bit of information at a time, or the information isn't relevant to them, or they can't control the information. It's just a it's an information consumption issue. So we found a space where there's wasted time, where you're not doing anything. The ringback tone on a phone call, so for an example, let's say Mark, I give Mark a phone call. When I wait for him to answer the phone, I just sit and listen to a ring, a ring, a ring, a ring. It's from the past. It's the way phones used to work, and it's kind of very outdated, and they kind of just kept it around, okay? That ring is delivered to me from Mark's carrier. Mark's carrier, let's say it's for Verizon or something. Verizon's going to answer the phone immediately, and it's a call waiting. They're just going to send me a ring, okay? So what we do is we replace this typical ringback tone with information of value to you, and I'll kind of explain how the information is valuable to you. So this solves a lot of the problems that we were dealing with before, where it automatically gives you bits of time throughout your day where you can hear something versus there's also one exposure at a time, so there's not a lot of information all at once hitting you. And then, as you can see, the rest of the list is all the content's can be relevant to the caller and controlled by the caller. Okay. So kind of what's special about us, why we're unique, why we're different, why we're even relevant. The first thing is we have a patent pending where it's a combination of pairing the content with the consumer, which I'll get into here in a sec. We have a partnership with a big data provider out of Silicon Valley where if I give them this is kind of creepy, sorry. If I give them your phone number, they can tell me 50,000 data about you and all your transactions, your history, build profiles on that information to predict kind of the type of content that you find interesting. Originally, the original idea was to just go off that predicted behavior. We realized through lots of interviews and services, people actually wanted to control the content they hear. So we said, okay, let's do that. We'll give you 100% control of this content. So what we did is we incorporated an app and a .com where every user can go and create their own profiles, and they can select all the categories of content they want. Say, all right, I'm only interested in X, Y, and Z, or A, B, and C, which I'll show you in the next slide. And then they can also go back and re-listen to because there's gonna be messages on there that you'll see there'll be tips, life hacks, whatever type of information you'd want, where you can go back to the app and revisit those things. Like, oh, what was that cool thing I heard? I want to go back to it later. I forgot about it because I had a phone call, right? Everyone would be using it. They're not people like, oh, there's ads. No, it's not ads, you'll see. So this is the ugliest slide you will probably ever see in the history of slides. But the left side kind of explains some of the categories we have and gives bullets of the type of information that would be in there. The right side are just more categories. So kind of an example of content and what you'd be listening to. Let's say, let's see, are the Blacktop guys here this week? No Blacktops. So Blacktops is a cool app. They'll probably talk about it, where it organizes pickup basketball games in the area. You can kind of figure out, and there's a pickup basketball game going on. I want to go join that. So if you were interested in, let's say, sports or whatever, down here at the bottom, one of the bits of information you might hear is, hey, oh yeah, one thing I gotta mention is there's gonna be a single voice delivering all the content. So it's very much like a radio show host, okay? It's a familiar voice you hear every time you make a phone call, and based on the categories of content you pick, they tell you, that's the familiar deliverer they give you. So let's say you pick language learning, right? So every time you make a phone call, they teach you a key phrase in a language that you wanna learn because you're going to that country. Let's say it's sports. They can tell you that the Cavs are still undefeated, right, in the playoffs, okay, whatever we were just talking about. Sports, they can tell you about cool new apps like the Blacktop app. Fashion, if you're into fashion, they might tell you about Sir Wild or whatever from last week. That was the bow ties and neckties and everything. That was pretty cool. And or tips and life hacks. So I wrote one the other day where for people interested in parenting tips or parenting hacks, where if you just take a little bit of baking soda, mix it with water, put on a Band-Aid, put it around your finger, it takes a splinter and it raises out of your kid's finger. It's an easy, painless way to remove a splinter. So based on the topics that are interesting to you, what's valuable to you, that's the type of information you deliver, okay? And then you can go revisit those things as well. Money, so we're gonna allow media agencies to sponsor content. So every piece of our content actually delivers value in that moment. If a media agency can deliver value in that moment surrounded by a certain brand, like let's say Blacktop or Sir Wild or something, then they can sponsor that content and put it on our channel with our host doing the messaging. Interested in this, so pre-MBA for me, I worked at a media agency, or I worked at an ad agency, and I wrote radio commercials for a number of years. And I figured out 6 problems that all media agencies deal with, and actually solves every single one of those problems that they have. So every media agency I've talked to, they're on both sides I'm doing it. And as you can see, there's a lot of money in media. Obviously, we wouldn't have 100% of the addressable market for this channel, but it's a pretty lucrative channel. So kind of the way it would work real fast is media agency or us, whoever would create the content, would upload a piece of content. Say, all right, this piece of content would be valuable for someone who's interested in tech, they're interested in sports, and maybe anything else. So that's number 1. They throw it in our system. Number 2, top left corner, when someone makes a phone call, they come in, we take their number, we figure out all the visual, we pair the person with the proper content, then we have ringback tone partners, so we don't have to deal with the technical side of delivering the ringback information. We a code over to them where all the audio is stored, and then they send the proper audio instead of a standard ringback tone. How's it received? This is the last slide. Media agencies, like I said, love it. Our customers, ironically, are the easiest people we have to get right now. They're 100% on board. Consumers, initially we thought that there might be some concern from people like, oh, I'm gonna hate this. You're gonna replace my ringback tone with some other content. Some people hate it, yeah, I'll be honest. Or we did an initial survey where we explained the concept, and 85% of people were either like, oh, I don't care what you do, or yeah, this would be super cool, let's do this. Only 15% were like, I would hate this. So we were surprised by that. Right now, we're actually providing audio examples, and whenever we've shown people audio examples, the interest has actually gone up. So we think we're going to get a better number, but who knows? I mean, you never know. So our consumers who aren't even paying for the content or anything, they're pretty decent. And then our suppliers, which generally should be the easy ones because we're giving them money, are somewhat more complicated. Big data provider we have signed, our ringback tone partners, the people who'd be delivering the content. We're in talks with them. The biggest issue we have is finding a right channel, a channel provider, so a carrier to give us access to their channel. And then, one thing on the carrier side I want to say about that is we'd be making a partnership with the receiving party's carrier, but the individuals hearing the content would be the calling party regardless of the carrier they come from. Because the receiving party is the one that delivers the actual audio. So there's actually very little risk for carriers if they were worried, but like I said, when we've shown people actual examples of the audio, there's been pretty positive reception. So anyway, this is, you guys will ask me later, what can we do to help, but questions? Go ahead.
So you don't know how long it's taken to What happens when it gets cut off in the middle of it?
So there's a couple solutions we have for that. One, on average, so this is something that was super surprising to me. A single ring cycle is 6 seconds. It's a lot longer than you think. On average, statistically, it's 12 seconds before someone picks up, just 2 rings, okay? So what we're doing is all our audio messages are 10 seconds long. And then from there, we're either gonna do like a Wispr audio for our own company saying, yeah, here's the valuable content you heard. And after that, it's like, always remember you can go to the Wispr app and control all the categories of content you hear or revisit stuff. We're also considering just putting some really nice music at the end as well. Music that would be, that the person would select, like this is the category of music I'm interested in. But if they answer before 10 seconds, yeah, it's just gonna cut off. Or to the app in case someone's starting to hear information they like, then they can go to the app and listen to the entire message if they want.
So I'm a bit confused.
Hey, Brody.
If everybody is going to just select what content they want, then why do you need this big data partner?
So that's, yeah, exactly. So in the very beginning, no one's gonna select it, right? So I hope to phase out big data partner. Don't tell them that, okay? But I hope to eventually not have to use them. But there's always, I'm pretty sure there's always gonna be instances where I'm not gonna get 100% of people to go sign up on the app and create a profile, right? Let's be honest. So I'm gonna use that big data as a predictor of the type of content they want. Does that make sense? Does that? Yeah. Go ahead.
This is kind of a slightly different take on your idea, but have you thought about working with like training to their employees while they're calling out?
So you're saying when a call center makes a phone call, the message that I deliver them is training for their job.
Yeah.
So it's totally interesting. That could,
so that'd be something like the business would pay for because it gets them value.
yeah, because there's a way we could target and say, you actually, it's pretty much exactly what we do, just a little different is when a media agency or someone says, I want to send this message to a certain group of people that would find it valuable. Generally, they will say, with these interests, maybe with these demographic characteristics, I could actually allow them to say, these are the exact numbers I want to target. But the problem is, we're not going to do that normally for people because all content has to be valuable to the person. The agency wants it, what's what the receiving party wants as well. Now, in a situation like that where it's employee to employee, I could push the limits a little bit and say, hey, if you want to do that, if you want to annoy your employees by giving them content they don't want, that's up to you. But I have no interest in annoying people, so I want to make sure all the content's valuable to the people. But that's a good idea. So I have to, that's something I have to talk to the call centers about.
So the person calling, the person receiving a call, or both, or neither, who have to agree to accept your service?
Currently, no one has to agree. It would be an opt-out.
So the phone provider just everybody gets this.
So the way it works is if you turn on ABC, right? As soon as you turn on ABC, regardless of who you are in essence agreeing to anything that they show you, whether it's an inappropriate TV show, whether it's a kiddie TV show, and any sponsorship message that occurs during that. So when I call Mark's carrier, I'm agreeing to anything that Mark's carrier wants to give me. So that's why we have a deal with the receiving party's carrier, but the calling party is the person that hears it. Does that make sense? And again, it's
initially you think you're going to have to agree for, because I'd actually enjoy it. If somebody calls my phone and they get something that I didn't agree to, I'd get annoyed. So who are you initially going to have to?
just the carriers. The carriers own the channel, not the person. And the thing is too, it's valuable. Like when we've shown people audio examples of this, they're like, oh, that's interesting. Where if the person who said, oh, I just heard this cool message on your phone when I called you, I'm like, oh, tell me about that. They're cool. So I don't know why a receiving party would be annoyed if the calling party likes it. If your friend calling you, oh, that was really cool. It's really valuable to me. So, but yeah, that's the thing. That's why we want to make sure the content's really valuable to the caller. I saw one other hand over here. Yeah. That's the thing. Assuming that, yeah, exactly. Assuming the information's like garbage and like, oh, every time people call me, they hear that information's annoying to them. Yeah, totally hear it. That's why we give control back to the people.
Last question. What can we do for you besides that?
Well, the main thing we have is we're like I said, we're doing a second round of the surveys with actual audio content, and we would love people to go take the survey. I don't know if there's a way I can distribute that to you and it can get out to everyone in the group. But you'll be able to hear a traditional ringback tone. You'll be able to select categories that you find interesting. So it's actually kind of like that right there, where you're like, oh yeah, that news and entertainment, that looks interesting to me. Learnings and education, that would be relevant to me. You select them and they can actually hear audio samples and rate them on preferences and stuff like that. So cool, thanks guys.
Hey, thanks everybody for coming out. Just contact one of the 1 Million Cups organizers if you are interested in doing a presentation, and we'll see you next week. Thanks.
What's up? How are you? Good. What's been happening? Now you're living up here, or are you living down with your parents?
So I've been kept on for a while.
You're in. And your sister's getting married.
She is.
And when's your reception?
28.
No. May. Cool. We do everything with you.
So you're what are you doing?
I'm a business consultant. So we're at a disc right now. I help people start and grow businesses.
That's what you do.
That's what I do. Yeah. Well, I mean, I've been doing it in one form or another for over 20 years. And so now I'm getting in deeper, really helping people understand their lives, their purpose in life, and how that affects their businesses, their families, everything they do. So, launching a consulting organization to do just that.
Yeah.
So, yep. I just need money. Cool. Excellent. Excellent. What do you study at BYU?
Yeah, I'm excited to get going. Yeah.
It's 20 left. I graduated 174 minors in business and psychology. So I went, started business, then computer science, then psychology, then business, then back to computer science. So I ended up with 2 minors. I worked in my field for 19 months. I started my business my last semester at BYU. So I created a product, launched a company, went to a convention to hand out samples, all kinds of stuff. We were pregnant with our second child. I had 4 flyouts. Got 5 interviews, 4 job offers, and I passed my accounting class for B -8. That's how I got my business going. So
you were doing so much.
Yeah, and I was working.
Yeah.
30 hours a day.
Yeah, there's just no way to do it.
Yeah. So yeah, I was really sick. I've been coming here for almost 2 years now. So yeah, everything's good. Oh, here. This is Daniel. So we met back in 2000. Yeah, he was really, Yep. I've written 2 books now. I've stayed for 2nd book last week. So it's kind of finishing being put up on Amazon. Yeah, I'm supposed to
You need to do a YouTube.